Welcome to the Earth Experience with Kalina Angell. Are you ready to fall in love with the human experience? Are you aware of the divine soul that you are and why it is that you came here to have the Earth experience? You were born in the 3D. Now you are ascending into the fifth dimensional being that you are. Divine Creator on Earth, welcome to this experience. Welcome to this show.
Congratulations. You are the ones who came here. We are the ones who came here. On a very amazing cusp of time. Most of us listening in this time right now, 2014, we were born into a time of third dimensional reality. And much like a car when shifting gears, when ascending and going faster, we shift a gear. We shift a gear and we're shifting into the fifth. And we can choose to continue to create a 3D reality for ourselves, or we can jump back and forth between 3 and 5, fifth dimensional, or as some would describe it, fourth density to fifth density. Or we can learn our true greatness, our limitlessness. We can create the reality we want. You are listening to The Earth Experience. So what is the Earth experience? What do I mean by this? Well, you tell me. You're living on it too. So I want to let you know that the format for this radio show, it might be a little different at times. Tonight's show will be featuring a lot of voices, we'll say. Some are entities and some are people that we know sharing the experiences of what it is to be having this experience on Earth. And one of the topics I really want to explore is, what do we do when the shift hits the fan? That's SHIFT. And of course, layered with meanings, as we know. And it can be confusing because we are in a crossroads of sorts between 3 and 5. In my mind, I feel ultimately we are already in the 5. But there's still that flux of the shift that we're feeling back and forth. And even the word shift itself, there are even different versions of the word shift, which we'll get into. But I also want to play some clips, some rather long clips, that basically reveal and mirror back to you and all of us having this Earth experience just how extraordinary we really are. And I mean it. We are extraordinary. As many of you that are listening to this, you're reaching out, you're making connections to higher density beings, angels, fairies, you name it. Sometimes we feel the bigness of these energies and we start to feel very small. But that couldn't be further from the truth.
Let's use Bob's first session with Treb Bor Yit NE as an example. In Bob's first encounter with Treb Bor Yit NE, who is a higher density, benevolent reptilian hybrid humanoid channeled through Rob Gauthier, we can see an example of how we often feel when we meet up of sorts with these higher density beings.
Good evening, Treb. How are you doing?
I am doing very well in this evening, and how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing pretty good. A little nervous about talking to you, but I'm doing good.
Yes, it is very great to experience you. It is very great to connect to you. And I am very well aware that many entities upon your own planet tend to be very nervous when they are connecting, as if they are looking upon an entity that is smarter or larger or greater than them, or sometimes just worried of the idea of what information can come across. But in these two ideas of the most common reasons why humans are connected to us, in worry or nervousness perhaps, I assure you that all of these things are very great and very okay, if you will, as we are equals. We are only in different portions of evolution, such as a child to an adult, and an adult to a person who is well into the older age, and all of these steps and lines in between are part of an evolutionary growth, and are a portion or part of the line of evolution just tends to be a little further, if you are looking at time linearly, than yours is. And this is well understood by ourselves, as well as it is beginning to be understood by yourself at this time.
Think about it for a moment. Why do they come to us? To connect. Why do they love us so much, so unconditionally? Because we are very deeply and dearly precious. And they know that we truly are equals because they see in us what we have yet to see within ourselves. But when they begin to appear to us, whether it's through within our hearts or dream state, visual, whatever it is that's going on, in your experience, or just, a feeling of their presence, you know that they see you in your fullest, not just your potential, but the version of you that is the greatest. And it excites them. And the reason you're able to perceive them in any way, even if it's just a feeling or just a fascination, is because deep down, you know your grandness, your bigness. You know that you are truly amazing. And sometimes it can be frustrating when you feel like you can't express it. But the truth is you can. And the Earth experience is one of the most unique places to do it.
So there was a harmonic convergence that occurred back in the summer of 1987. So just take a breath, all of you. Some of you are familiar with this word. Nora, we'll speak about Nora. She was not at all at the time aware of the harmonic convergence or what that was about. And it was the largest conscious gathering of Earthlings on the planet. It was a planned event meant to open gateways, portals, doorways into the reascension process. We'll say the largest in recent history because there were gatherings that occurred much longer ago on Atlantis and Lemuria, other ancient civilizations that were quite large. But in your current history, this was the largest that had occurred. So that opened many of you up before you had a conscious awareness that you had been open. So a lot of you at that point began opening by degrees. This is Nora. I'll step out at this point and just share something. So that summer, I had my first experience with what I would call a non-physical entity that I was consciously aware of. My maternal grandmother made contact with me around 2 a.m. I woke up. I was in college. I woke up. She was standing in my bedroom. I knew who she was immediately, even though she had passed when my mother was 8 years old. So she is not somebody I'd met in this lifetime. But I immediately knew who she was. I also felt a tremendous amount of fear as this being was standing in my bedroom and kind of flung my arm out and she disappeared. This is the Pleaidians here. So that's when a lot of experiences began happening for those of you on the planet after that harmonic convergence in 1987 that seemed very random, very much not by your own design. So then there was a very slow and steady awakening process that occurred for many over the course of a couple of decades. Then you get to the winter solstice of 2007. On the winter solstice of 2007, you all in the northern hemisphere, the winter solstice, so in the southern hemisphere, that would have been your summer solstice. On that solstice date, you received a transmission of energy, information, light, and love that accelerated your awakening process exponentially. So, Rob, that's the one that most directly impacted your specific awakening process. And you don't have to be exact with the dates, but it was around that period of time, in fact, a bit before for you, that you really began to awaken, and it was in part due to that transmission. That's what really pushed your buttons there. And the other thing is you all scheduled your awakenings before you incarnated. So you all have awakened, you all have become conscious and aware exactly when it was appropriate for you to do so. And then the final one we'll talk about, of course, is again the winter solstice transmission on in December of 2012 that moved you out of the limiting experience of the third dimension and fully opened you up to accessing fourth and fifth dimensional technologies in your own physical bodies. And since then, the awakening on the planet has been exponential in its growth, and you all can feel this. And as more of you awaken, you shift the collective vibration in tandem with Earth's experience itself. And that's the other thing you've really got to be aware of here. You're not just shifting, it's not just humanity, it's also Earth. You're doing this collectively in tandem together with one another. And each of you impacts the other. The collective being that is Earth impacts the collective being that is humanity, and back and forth. There's no separation there in your journeys.
That was channeler Nora Harrell channeling the ninth dimensional Pleiadian collective.
When the shift hits the fan, it's that moment that 3D and 5D collide. That oh my gosh moment. What do I believe? Everything that I thought I was is being challenged. Not just externally, but internally. What do I do? Do I hang on to everything I define myself as? Or do I step into this new version of myself? The majority of you listening now, unless you're a tiny baby born post 2012, we're born directly into a third dimensional reality, having the Earth experience as a 3D being. But what's remarkable about our experience as humans on this planet right now, in this particular time frame, is we are all hybrids. That's right. I'm not referring to starseed kind of hybridization. What I mean is we are dimensional hybrids. We are both third dimensional and fifth dimensional, or some people refer to as third density and fourth density beings. So what happened when we were crossing through 2012, particularly December 21st, 2012, that is the most highlighted mark, but is really, in my feelings, more of a representation of what we're going through. We are new 5D beings. Some of us will continue on creating a 3D experience, while others of us will kind of jump back and forth, which many of us are doing now. I know I certainly have been fluxing back and forth quite a bit. And then there's a 5D. What have we been realizing? Oh my gosh, we are the creators of our own reality. We're the creators of our own reality. What does that mean? Well, in our lives, there are so many different probabilities. There's so many. But it's not just about choice. It's about actually creating your own reality. One of the first steps I've realized, though, is this thing that I discovered called shifting. And without sharing stories and making it long and drawn out, I had a situation where I didn't want to interfere with anyone's free will in a particular situation. So I thought to myself, okay, I want something a certain way, but I don't want to interfere with anyone's will, their own free will. What do? Well, if it's true that there are so many different probabilities and possibilities, if there is a reality for everything that's laid out, perhaps I could jump to the one that exists, that complies with my wishes, without interfering with theirs, because I simply jump to the reality where that is their wish too. And then I am essentially shifting into the reality that I prefer. And I feel that shifting perhaps is possibly one of the very first points and realizations of our creating our own reality. I think it's one of the very first realizations. I have a sneaking suspicion that there's a lot more and things get a lot deeper. It's going to be very fun to explore that.
On the Evolution Enlightenment Hour, Rob Gauthier had special guest Sean Swanson on to channel Aishua.
What is the most important thing about living in the excitements and going through the experience on Earth as we are going through this wonderful time of change and all these new energies that are brought about? What is the best thing that you can share with us to help us live in our excitements?
Therein, the idea, often you've heard before, simply to follow your heart in a sense. Not necessarily we would say that is the most important, for that will be up to each of you to define and to decide what is most important for you to focus on. Simply therein, I will suggest, in my experience and those who I interact with most often, we find of immense joy and sense of fulfillment in our life, a sense of meaningfulness and purposefulness, being fully fulfilled in each and every moment. In that, we simply, as best we can in each moment, follow our heart in that sense. Understanding the idea as our heart is an aspect of our consciousness that is always present, always here with us in that sense, yes, but you might say perhaps at a little bit higher vibration, and even very much higher vibrations, in that having an ability of vision to see, in a sense, where we in our earth experience are moving into. And then our heart can guide us in that understanding, knowing our blueprint that we brought in with us in this lifetime, which directions, which steps to take would be, in that sense, for us, each person that would be most fulfilling, most enjoyable, and provide us with the greatest sensation of abundance in the ways that are uplifting for us, immensely informing in ways that are very practical, increasingly useful in that sense. Yes, in that idea therein. To know the heart has the ability, the awareness, the insight, the foresight, the compassion, the love, the understanding, the knowledge, the wisdom, and is each moment sharing with that aspect of us that it perceives our physical realm through our physical mind. Our heart is sharing all of that access, all of that information, all of that knowledge in each moment. What would be the most fulfilling direction and step for us to take in that sense? And how then we can begin to more, and how any person can begin to more recognize these sharings from our heart, is to understand when the heart is sharing and communicating these ideas to us, then it will feel more of joy, because that is more in resonance with our actual unconditionally loving nature, and our heart is more in tune with our actual unconditionally loving nature. Therein, when you are following your heart, that which feels to be a joy to you, that which might be very peaceful or feel very compassionate to you, or very filled with a joyous laughter and playfulness, all of these ideas are very much in resonance more with your actual unconditionally loving nature, and therein, that is feeling that way, for it is your heart letting you know this is the step, this is the direction to go, and it feels like that because it is your heart letting you know. It is more in resonance with your actual unconditionally loving nature in that sense. So that is one way to explain why following your heart could be and is so immensely useful and valuable for those who truly want to live a life in resonance with their unconditionally loving nature as fully as they can in each and every moment in that idea. So that is one way to answer the question as you have asked it in that sense? Do you want to explore that a little more deeply, or in any other direction would you like to go at this time?
What is the Earth experience? This is a place of beauty and evolution and expansion. To me, this is a place where we focus fully on remembering the greatness that we are. And in remembering the greatness of who we really are, we begin to realize what we truly want. Because every one of us, having the Earth experience, has had something that we really wanted badly, challenged. It began in our childhood with the very first word, no. And that is an unusual word. And if we threw a fit about the no, we were called a brat. But if you look more deeply, underlying the behavior of a child throwing a tantrum because of the no, is there's a very deep, deep pain. Because this being is new into a world of seeming limitation. And it's that terrible moment that they realize, oh my gosh, I cannot have my highest excitement. And they begin to question, do I create my own reality? And of course, in this Earth experience, much of this is necessary for the expansion. This contrast that we experience. Out of this tightening, ironically, comes expansion. Really pondering, truly, what do I truly want? What am I truly excited about? And then learning to create and shift into those experiences, because what has happened now that we're going from 3 to 5, and in many ways, I believe we're already fifth dimensional beings. We can create the realities that we want. But sometimes we're not entirely sure what it is that we want. As hybrid 3/5s, with our own beliefs being challenged within ourselves, let alone outside, things that we held dear. For me, as a child growing up, I was very different. I was very different. I was picked on. Without getting into the long story, I felt outcast. So one could say there was an aspect of me that developed a victim consciousness. Why is that so important in this conversation? Well, because when you're the victim, you're seemingly not responsible for your own reality. It's always the other person that did it to you. Until I began to realize they're simply mirroring back to me how I feel about myself. Yes, I'm different. And there were aspects of me that wanted to believe, little bits that were proud of being different. But I also singled myself out. Likewise, not only did I separate myself from others for being different, I referred and saw them as them. Those people that reject me. And so I created these experiences, or I should say co-created these experiences where I was rejected and my heart was broken. No matter what type of relationship it was, friendship, love, didn't matter what it was. All so I could, on some level, in this particular aspect within myself, say, see, because that is what I believed. And it happened. It started when I was a child, and I based everything on things that happened in the past rather than in the now. So part of shifting is also letting go of the patterns, because on some level, many of us repeat things. The patterns continue, not because the universe wants to punish us, because that's a place I was in for a long time. There was a time when I was suicidal. I was extraordinarily depressed, and I had virtually no one to talk to. And it was a very difficult time in my life. I had even gotten to the point where I believed that the world would be better off without me, that I was creating too many issues. But then there just came a moment when I just got tired. I just got tired of it. And so, without getting too deeply into the story, which I'll get into later, surely in future episodes, I just decided to commit to the idea of loving myself. And then I committed to the actions of loving myself, which I'm still working on. And I'm unraveling these things, and I'm finding and discovering all these different beliefs popping out. Any problem I've ever had, be it being broke or someone behaving a certain way toward me, no matter what it is, I realize it truly is a reflection of myself, no matter what it is. And at first, it really is kind of like throwing salt on a wound. It really is eye-opening to realize. Now, some people would say, well, what about someone who's born in a place that's impoverished and they are having these experiences? And this might sound cold, but from what I understand, this is a soul agreement that soul had. But even in that, rather than pitying people who are in war-torn, impoverished areas, seeing them, if you really truly want to help them, see them as powerful beings. And they've now shifted into 5D, which means things can manifest faster. It means that somehow, some way they can shift into a reality if they want it. They can, regardless of the original soul agreement. That's how powerful we are. You want to rewrite your story? Yeah, you can. It's your story. You sure can. What do you want? What is your highest excitement? You are unlimited. You came in thinking you are completely limited. Truth is, you're only hallucinating that you're limited. And this is the most extraordinary game of limitation. An unlimited being pretending to be limited, pretending to be separate. But the beautiful thing about being a 3 to 5D being, again, is this ability to be connected and very individual at the same time. If I were to give you a blank canvas right now, what would you put on it? If there was no one around to judge you, not even yourself, what excitements, what would you put on this canvas? And it's not just this 2D thing where you put paint on. This is the most incredible canvas. Anything goes on this canvas. Do you want to fly to Mars? Do you want to learn to dance the waltz? And it's not just about doing, but being. What do you want within yourself? What do you want within yourself? And even if you say, oh, well, I can't do that because I'm too old, or I'm too this, or I'm too that, just start with that excitement and watch the universe come up with something creative, because it might not be something exactly like you imagine, but better in its own way. Because what do I mean when I say the universe finding that for you? Who is that part of the universe that seems to do these coincidences or synchronicities? They're parts of yourself, your oversoul. Because we're one, there is a seamless flow. It wants to give to you because you are the universe. Universe is you. Universe is all of us ultimately. So even if you decided to remain in the 3D experience, or even if someone decides, I want to be the darkest of evilists, quote unquote, seeing evil, what we consider evil. The universe loves that aspect of the all that we are so much to have that experience. So much that the universe loved me to allow me to have the experience of victim consciousness, to have the experience of being suicidal like I used to be for a while. I remember during those times when I was severely depressed, feeling abandoned. Like, I love you, God. Why don't you love me? When you start realizing that you are one fractalized version of God, that you are a drop of the most incredible expression, when you stop realizing that, it gets reflected back to you. There was some aspect of me that clearly wanted to have that experience. Because if you recall, when I decided to begin committing to just the idea of loving myself, why was it? Because I was just sick and damn tired of not loving myself. That's the truth. And so synchronicities were reflecting back to me. I was opening back up again. I came into some Abraham Hicks material. which led into me listening to more Bashar material, and then walking on the ocean, taking yoga on the beach, and then eventually finding the Treb material. It was wonderful, and I began meeting people and just enjoying my life. It wasn't the most perfect love, and I'm still working on it now. But it was just the idea of committing and then making that commitment. And it's been reflecting back this incredible beauty to me ever since. And of course, I still have issues. I still have what, for lack of better words, are considered bad days. I can have a day where I have the most incredible, beautiful, what I perceive as high spiritual experience, and then plummet to the ground, awful, blah, but then out of that blah comes this realization. And that is also part of shift hitting the fan. How do you navigate through it? Accept yourself fully, all aspects of yourself. Let go of your judgments. Before you let go of your judgment on others, let go of the judgment on yourself. Accept the darkness within you, the lightness within you, because in truth there is no dark, there is no light, there just is. There's one. But you are having this incredibly complex earth experience, both in 3 and 5D. You have come from thinking that things happen to you to, wow, I create and co-create my own reality with others. And this is just the beginning of the adventures that you can have if you want them. It's all an adventure. No matter what you choose, it won't be wrong. You'll expand. We all will. Some creature who doesn't even know about humans on some other planet in this universe, even if it's just a small microorganism, it'll expand, and we expand because of its consciousness too. That's how deeply connected we are. And yet, that's how important you are as a droplet of God, a droplet of all that is. And the more fully you are, the more the universe vibrates. No wonder the universe wants to give back to us, even if it's you hurting yourself. So what is it that you want to experience? Dive a little bit more deeply into, as I previously mentioned, Bob's session with Treb Bor Yit NE, who also channeled in a very dear guide of his, Bob's guide, that is,
named Adul, also a higher density being and a future version of Bob himself.
Good evening, dear one.
Good evening. Is it
It,
okay if I call you Adful?
it is very, very okay to do so. I am so excited that we are able to converse in a way that represents much more clear energetic exchange.
Yeah, it's awesome to finally hear from you. You've just been a thought or an energy all my life, but I really haven't had an opportunity to connect. Obviously, as you know, I'm very stubborn sometimes, and I don't always get messages clearly.
Yes, I am very aware of this concept of stubbornness, but everyone that is on your planet has a bit of stubbornness upon them in one way or another. And this is very, very exciting to be able to connect with you in this way. I have been able to perceive much of your existence through the energetic source field. We all connect one energy source per moment in each perspective time, and linearly, non-linearly, if we are fluidly bouncing through time, or whether static has covered the time in that moment and it seems to stand still for an eternity, there is always love and connection with you, and this makes me very grateful.
Sure. Um, is as far as connections, is it that we're connected through the same oversoul, or how exactly are we connected?
Absolutely. When we are living in our own day-to-day lives, there is one common thread. It is the source energy that we come from. And it's very obvious to both of us that source energy in itself is one thing, that all things connect to that one thing. But there are also many things that connect smaller groups, and the smaller connection is where our relationship can be found. When you look at the way that consciousness is fractalized through various routes, through various ways, we share one connection in the Oversoul, as well as many connections in collectives, as well as many connections in larger collectives, even in the way that the larger collective of our own universal consciousness connects to other universal consciousnesses. And this is what makes this such an exciting day, an exciting feat, that even though both of our journeys have been prospectively our own, even though we have a perception of being separate, even though we are seeing one thing for what it is in each moment, in this time, we find our reconnection. This is something that does not only make my excitement fly through the roof, but it also brings my heart to a boiling point of love, and I am so grateful that prospectively, through our own interpretation of what the universe is, as an expression or as an ideal, that once we come together in unity from where we once came from. And this in itself is so exciting.
It is very exciting. Um, were you there when I chose this current incarnation?
I was absolutely with you in that moment. Before both of us begin our incarnation in physical entities in this one exact life, we were merged together as Source. We did not see ourselves in separation. We only see us, much as you choose to focus in your own daily activities, as doing two things at once. We decide we are together, this is one body, one consciousness, but this part of myself will follow this activity while this part of myself follows the other. And this is where our idea or delusion of separation came to be.
Okay, I understand that. Can you tell me? I understand if you can't, but can you tell me why I chose such a difficult path in this incarnation?
Well, absolutely, we can talk about this. As we are one, we have no separation, which means there is no secrets. In this idea, the reason that you came to this planet, the reason that you came into this incarnation cycle, is because you were aware that even the hard times represent specific concepts of learning. It doesn't seem that hardships bring existence. It doesn't seem that hardship brings enlightened existence. But as an Obersoul, as a singular unit of consciousness, all of the entities that are within our Oversoul know collectively that even if you live a very short life full of agony, torture, and pain in the way that you perceive it in this moment, it is worth experiencing. It is worth living. And you did not care of this. All of the humans that live on your planet threw this caution to the wind. That part of ourselves, that part of our Oversoul became empowered by saying, I will go through what is perceived to be difficulty so that I may exist. And this is the beauty of it. I know that it scares you now when you look at these difficult things in your heart and your mind. You begin to become rattled. You begin to say, how could I have possibly have chosen this? But I assure you, brother, that as we were once together, as we were all once together, we threw caution to the wind and expressed that all things are worth experiencing, from the smallest, most minute detail of a spring day and a flower scent that comes to your nose and the buzzing of a bee by your ear, to the greatest things of growing within your own self far enough to extend back into the oneness that you came from while you are still in a physical body. And this is the glory of it all.
Yeah, I understand. It's just that, when I was younger, the difficult times, I know gave me strength and gave me the capability to reach out my hand to others. It just seems that after a certain point that, it just seems like things just went too far. And instead of giving me strength, it started giving me weaknesses.
Yes, and I understand this idea. Certain pains are felt with heavy burdens, and those heavy burdens are caused by perceptions that we have nothing that we can do about this. But deep inside of you, you know the truth. Deep inside of you, you know that all of the things that tend to be so burdensome that they remove the quality of your existence and your own perception, or even the idea that you have free will in that existence, are all things that can be overcome. It is the perception that we see the things that truly form the physical things that tend to enslave us. When we believe that having an abuse done to us, or a meanness or an unkindness to us is so strong, and that these people are enslaving our will, that these people are enslaving who we are, what we are, then we have given them that power to do just this. It is the perception that we must try to achieve that says, although you have done this to me, I understand that you are part of my own self. I understand that this roadblock is created only so that greater growth may come of it. And this perception in itself is something that is so great and so wonderful that we can overcome all of these things. I know the system that you come from is very heavy and very filled with deep sorrow in many, and I know that that sorrow finds its way to you. And I understand that this sorrow can be something of a burden blanketed upon your own soul. But remove this blanket, my brother. Remember that all things that we perceive are only this, a perception. It is the way that we have perceived it. It is the beliefs that we are taught as children in your specific universal field, in your specific collective earth consciousness, that allows you to fully invest yourself in the beliefs that hold you to that grindstone, that hold you with that heavy blanketed burden upon you. You can release this blanket whenever you are ready and express that I will not be enslaved, that my free will cannot be stopped by anyone. It is going through and tackling what is exciting to you and living your excitement. It is achieving whichever portion of consciousness that you choose to be in that moment. It is saying all these things that I once believed limited me, the lack of money, the lack of friendship, the lack of people who care and truly believe in me, to be removed. You do not need this to make your own way. And I know that it seems that you do, but I promise you, it is only your own belief in yourself, your own perception in the heart, and your own removal of this perception that you are so limited, my brother, when you are not.
Now, these limitations that I've put upon myself, was this, part of my grand plan in coming into this incarnation, or is this a burden that I've placed upon myself?
Let me try to explain this in an example. There are no specific things. Before you incarnated as a piece of oneness together, you expressed, I will go through with said limitations. I will go through, and this can be a possibility. This can be a possibility. My own self becoming rich, successful, it all can be a possibility. I will throw myself in a system in which A to B can be possible, and my free will dictate the rest. There is no set limitations. The limitations that you now experience were brought into you for experience sake. It is helping you achieve something that you came to this life for. And this is why, although it seems hard in that one moment, that it is only brought into you so that you can have that experience that you choose. Let me share an example. One portion of our oversoul expressed itself in a planet that is much like Earth. It is very similar. In fact, it is in the same dimensional process, but in a different matrix. So this means it is a version, or it is akin to a parallel Earth that you experience. So now this entity joins the Earth in a time in which a great religious prejudice has been placed upon all of the masses, much as your medieval times, and this entity was brought to Earth with knowledge. He was brought to that Earth with the knowledge and understanding that the religion, the prejudice, and the weight of these entities who ruled that planet at that time would not allow him to speak without great suffering. He brings forth his excitements in speaking the truth, and he is punished. He is not just whipped. He is not just burned. He is not just flogged. He is beaten every single moment of his life for 30 years in a row. He is taken turn upon and tortured slowly and brought back to health and re-tortured. Every possible physical, mental, and emotional pain that any human has experienced, whether it be on your Earth or his Earth, was experienced by this entity. He has spent the last 5 years of his life wondering, why was I given this burden? Why was it so difficult? Why did I choose to have an existence of this nature? And the moment that he died, the moment that his physical body is released, he is brought back to the oneness of his oversoul, to our oversoul. And once he is there, he remembers. The reason that I went there was the few people in the guard rooms that were being aware of my torturing heard my own conversations with the next cellmates. They heard my pleas and cries. They heard my truth. And this sparked a chain. It sparked a chain of others telling truths, these truths spreading, and 1,000 years later upon that planet, due to what was believed to be the most insignificant of actions, sparked a renewal of a planet, a growth in a planet that was unseen by any growth in any parallel Earth since then, and is only paralleled by the growth that your planet is within now. And this exciting liberation of a planet was brought forward by a co-creation of one entity who decided that he will go and deal with what he perceived as pain. Once he returns to the source, he realized the physical abuse, the torture, the sexual abuse, all of these things that he had suffered was not true pain. It was an experience. And the more he separated himself from that physical body that he once inhabited, he began to realize the simple truth that it was an excellent existence, the most excellent of all that he had seen before. And this is why we praise all experiences, all the limitations you bring to you, all of these things that inhabit your life in any way, shape, or form that you're perceiving as negative are truly a blessing, my brother.
Wow, that's a beautiful message.
Yes, it is very beautiful to see the greatness that each one of us have within our fractalized selves. In my own existence, in my own fractal that I have become, I look at yours, and if there is a human emotion that I could express, that I feel about seeing your existence, it would almost be an envious one. It would be one that expresses how great your existence is, how much I wish I could be more of a part of this. And this is why my excitement is flared. This is why my love is boiled to a great point, because your existence is truly one of the greatest ones that we are going through at this time. And I know it does not appear to be in your own perception, but I tell you, brother, with great surety that all you must do is realize that everything about you is great, that everything in your existence that you have brought forth that you perceive to not be great is truly wonderful. It is a true blessing in your own heart and mind, and that all of these things in your existence are beautiful. There is nothing wrong with any of it. There is nothing wrong with you. There is nothing wrong with any of your interactions.
Oh, okay. So, really, if you look at, what's holding me back, it's my own self, right?
There's nothing holding you back. This is also a perception. The state that you are within now tends to be one of apprehension, timidness. It tends to be one of trying to place a small foot out before stepping forward to try to see what is in front, because you have experienced every time you were courageous enough to take a full step, it feels as if you were beaten backwards. But I assure you, there's nothing wrong with that either. There is nothing wrong with your state right now. It is a perception that it is. Once you accept what you are in that one state, in that one moment, I assure you, you will see that the position you are in now is not quite what you once thought it was.
My own personal journey in relationship to channeling and connecting with my guides, and how much my own experience of being Nora Herald has shifted and altered as I've linked up more and more with those beings that are here to assist and love us. And it's interesting because when I started on this path, and I think this is true for most people, I started from a place of curiosity and a place of need. And I had my special spiritual time, and then I had my life, and I ran things that way for quite a while, where I was in my life still operating very much as Nora Herald, that from that ego perspective, was trying to incorporate the new ideas that the guides were giving me a bit into my life, but I really didn't understand how. I didn't have that roadmap. So then I would go into this magical bubble of channeling and my spiritual time, and I really was living in two very different realities. And that channeling reality, in a lot of ways, was very much an escape for me from what felt like often a very dense and difficult and hard life. And I remember thinking back then, oh God, I wish they would all land and fix things, whoever they are. I wish the angels would manifest themselves physically and just fix it all for us. Or I wish the ETs would land in their ships and offer a whole different perspective and shut down the governments and blah, blah, get rid of all the bad guys. And it was very polarized viewpoint on reality. And then over the course of time, as I channeled more and more, the energy, the vibration, the frequency began to work on my body, my emotional, my mental, my physical bodies. And suddenly I was no longer differentiating between my everyday life and my spiritual life. It was all one and the same. And as I did that, and this is just sort of a way to kind of really simplify the integration process. But as I did that, as I integrated what I'm calling my higher self or my fifth dimensional identity more fully into my third dimensional chakra system, then suddenly Nora became a much happier person. And then I was able to begin to create for myself the reality that brought me more joy. And I've been able to manifest more consciously. And the more I integrate, the more people I get to interact with, the more I'm in that space of love. And I think that that's the most important thing for us to understand, is that we're shifting from the inside out, that we're not going anywhere, we're not leaving, and we're not being saved or rescued. We are altering ourselves from the inside out, raising our vibration internally with external help, certainly, yes. And as we do that, then our reality shifts around us to reflect that change. You are shifting. You are, as Nora said earlier, shifting from the inside out, which means the way you did things last week aren't necessarily for your highest good this week. You've got to constantly be checking in every moment, every single one of you, and asking yourself, all right, is this truly for my highest good in this moment? I know it was last week, but is that true today? And re-identification of the self as that, as universal being of love and light, is something that is necessary in the integration and reascension process, because that allows you, as you clear out the attachments to these identities, artist, healer, channel, actor, actress, financial planner, musician, whatever it is, doctor, lawyer, accountant, on and on. As you clear your attachment to those identities, as you stop believing that what it is you do creates who you are, because it's the other way around. Who you are creates what you do. So you'll really start to integrate that now. A lot of you are listening and taking this in. And on one level, you all will feel a bit of sadness as you release your attachments to your particular identities, because those identities got you through some really hard spaces. We mean in this incarnation. They were identities you created and you ran to at times as a reaction to the hardship of your reality. Well, this is Nora. It's like I was talking about with Rob at the beginning of the show. I created this identity as a tarot reader and a channeler and this spiritual being, and I would run to that identity to escape my life as a waitress, alone, without a partner, with money issues and issues with my body and depression and anger and childhood abuse and all of that. I would run and escape into that identity. It was only when I really identified as universal being of light and love that suddenly I could be that at all times. I didn't have to run all those old programs any longer based on the identity I created. So you're doing the same work right now. It's fantastic work. This is the Pleaidians' Feel that truth of yourself as universal being of light and love. Stop needing to specialize in any way, because you are special. You are love incarnate. Gives you the right to be anything and everything you want.
My interview with Treb.
Kalina.
Hi.
How are you doing this evening?
Oh, good.
Yes. I know that you have many things that you wish to speak of that are very important to you this evening. So whenever you are ready to begin, you may.
Thank you. Oh. Well, you know, my show is going to be launching in less than 2 nights.
Yes.
And I wanted to get some of your thoughts around the Earth experience. And you had actually said some things already before. I'm going to move the recorder toward you. First of all, I want to say thank you for coming in for a few minutes outside ice cream time.
Yes.
So the question I had, it might sound a little strange, but I wrote, Treb, what do we do when the shift hits the fan?
Yes. The idea that you have of the shift hitting the fan is a very layered concept of many complex ideas, one that begins at the base of what you believe humanity is. What is humanity? What is the Earth experience to say? And what we can share on this is many aspects. There are attributes of humanity that have lasted for several thousand years. One of these attributes is the understanding that one may create its own reality in a major amount of resistance. And the amount of resistance depends on each entity believing that they are able to choose before incarnation of what portion of the earth that they wish to grow upon, knowing that each area of the earth brings a different experience, each portion of the consciousness of the collective, the earth in itself, having 7 chakras. The same chakras that are aligned in a human body is also aligned in a 7th density entity. Each one of these chakras giving a specific reason to exist, a specific idea that coincides with an ability to live in a specific energy, and each one of these energies are very dependent upon the specific areas of Earth in which you incarnate. Let us speak of the most basic concept, the very first chakra. This is in the area that you would deem Africa, one in which survival is the main concept. Living and existing upon Earth alone is very difficult, very challenging, and this is where the specific challenges of being within the first chakra energy, not only within the entities themselves, but also within the land in which they inhabit. This is a very complex concept. It allows each entity to examine the portions of their existence in which they have not been able to before, this being an area of the earth that is very poor, that it is very difficult to eat, where it is difficult to exist and live without disease, without hunger, without various repercussions of what most would call a very dangerous decision to incarnate into. But this idea is very backwards, if you will, in the energetic way that the soul perceives this. The soul perceives this not as an inconvenience of incarnation, but more so a direct opportunity to evolve. An evolution that will take one through their own selves, integrating into the ideas of survival. And many of the entities who are incarnated here in this time, the area that you call Africa, have not been able to explore fully their desired effect of existing in comfort, of existing just so that they may exist. Many entities believe because the first chakra area of this earth is one that is based in survival, that is the only experience that one can draw from this. But this is also contradictory to the way that the energetic alignment of incarnating in this area can work. Many of the entities who have lived through the idea of existing to exist have actually come through with more clarity, have come through with greater alignment within all of the chakra system, and in fact are activating their third eye, throats, and crown chakras as we speak. So it is an opportunity to be upon your own planet of Earth for various reasons. But let us not only look at the extremes of the lowest idea that most humans perceive as low energetic survival. Let us look in the basic area of consciousness upon your Earth. And right at this time, you are exploring the third to fourth density exchange. And in this third to fourth density exchange, there is the concept of moving from the third chakra to the fourth chakra, also known as, or in the abbreviated status, the AKA, living in the third to fourth density exchange.
Yes.
This is what you are doing now. This is what you are perceiving now as an entire collective, where even those who are living in the first chakra all the way to the seventh are connecting to the fourth chakra energy as a whole. So now that you have come upon this planet at this time, it seems to be perhaps very challenging to many, but in the truth of the way that nature of the energy is imparted upon the human race from the Oversoul Collective, the high density of the seventh entity, this existence can be quite exhilarating. Finding one's alignment within a time period that is stretched and expanded through thousands of years, this is a very great way to be able to experience the precipice of energy that you are in this day. It is the truth that now you are going from third density to fourth density, and you may experience all of this in the most grandest way if you decide to. It is removing belief systems of the old nature, of the third density nature, that no longer have a place to exist within the fourth density. It is removing the portions of your own self that are based in separation of third chakra, of the mine against yours energy of the third chakra, and moving it into the heart in which unconditional love may flourish if you give it the nutrients that it desires, if you feed it the love that you can find within your own self, as this is truly what one is made from. The unconditional love of the Source Creator, which is found in all of your oversouls.
And who is the seventh density entity that we're all connected to? When you say seventh density, are you referring to our Earth?
Yes! The collective consciousness that you would know to be Earth, or Mother Earth, or Gaia, or any of these clever names that humanity has brought in forth. This is the true nature of the high seventh density entity I speak of.
So, I'm curious what she is going through, and then I want to get in a little bit about what we as humans are going through as far as our beliefs are concerned from Gaia's viewpoint. What's going on with her, and how can we be of assistance to her as a collective?
Yes, this is a very great question. When you look at the seventh density, the high seventh density entity as the low seventh density tends to be singular oversouls. The seventh high is the collective of all of the lowers. When you look at this entity in whole, it is manifested throughout each density. The Mother Earth has manifested itself in the first density by only being that carries rock and fire and magma and electricity, all of these stones in the first density entities that you experience. It has also decided to express itself physically into the second density, in which it is covered with light, but also with the first density entities. Then it decides to express itself in the third density. This is what you are leaving now and going into the fourth. This is the expression of full understanding of oneself, noticing that it is myself against others, noticing that I have separation and I am independent from all others. And the fourth is the reconnection of this independence. The fourth is your ability to move from a place of disconnection back into a place of connection if you choose. And this seventh density entity that you call Gaia is literally manifesting itself now from the third density into the fourth density harmonic vibrations.
Wow. And as humans, as you know, a lot of us have incarnated where we've had these third dimensional experiences and going into fifth. I know I get all the densities and dimensions mixed up, but from how I say it, 3D, third dimensional to fifth dimensional, we're kind of in the middle and shifting back and forth. And it's very exciting because it's just unique, because you go in and you drop into this third dimensional experience, and then we're kind of stepping up into this new 5D experience. So one thing I've noticed are sudden belief systems, things that you'd adopted, things that you once held very dear and very true for yourself are starting to shatter, and you're finding almost a kind of type of death within oneself in order to birth this truer self. And it can sometimes seem completely different, disorienting, and difficult. And I was wondering what your thoughts are on that with this shift within.
Yes! The idea that all of you are shifting from this area of connection, incarnating into an area of disconnection, and now you are beginning to climb this ladder in your own eyes, a proverbial climbing of sorts, back into the higher density of the fourth. This fourth density existence is truly one of becoming aligned with what you truly are, with becoming aligned with the entity that gives you the least resistance. So as a human, there are many things that can be experienced. There are an idea of entities that have expressed in their own experience what an entity perhaps would call the ascensional symptoms, and these are physical attributes of oneself as they are energetically shifting. But what can be expected is a very great gamut of many energies and many transportations and manifestations, and this is directly up to each entity. It can go as very small as physical ailments, such as ringing of ears, such as intense tiredness, all the way up into the greatest concepts of being able to activate your third eye chakra, being able to use transportative thought processes known as telepathy by your own race, by being able to manifest in a much quicker fashion. All of these things are truly what the third to fourth density exchange is for.
So we are finding that we are truly in power of our own realities. I know for me, I've worked on the concept. The reason why I was excited by shifting is I had an aha moment because I was afraid, as you know, with certain situations in my life that I wanted to manifest, but I didn't want to interfere with anyone or anything's free will. And it occurred to me this concept of shifting, and I thought I'd try it, that there's so many probable realities, and that there's enough to shift into the reality that I would desire the most. And it worked. But I really had to work with my own belief systems. What are your thoughts on what others can do to shift into the realities they want?
Yes, this is a very great congratulations to you that is needed for this shift into your own reality in which you preferred. It is as easy for one to do as it is for all to do. You must place your beliefs in the idea that you have the power to do this. You must also quit judging oneself. You must quit judging the energy that is laid in front of you. You must quit judging the universe that you are creating. As all things are manifested internally to the externally, many entities will begin to believe that this is my reality in which I am, and now I am not happy with this, so I will judge this. And the ones who become more aware begin to integrate judgments that are much deeper and harsher onto themselves, because they are aware that they have created this catastrophes or this chaotic energy that is around them at all times. Now they begin to point the finger at oneself. There is no need to point a finger at oneself, even if you are aware that you are building this reality, because all you have to do is make a conscious decision that now I will remove this limiting belief that has caused this catastrophe, and now I will embark upon a new manifestation that is filled with power and no judgments. And this can be very easily done. It is truly an idea of quantumly jumping between all parallel existences to the one that you prefer the greatest, as there truly are an infinite amount of probable realities that are caused by the onset and truality of the entire encompassment of there being an unlimited, and let us express this word in repetitiveness, unlimited concept of entire parallel universes.
Wow.
Choose one. You may choose any that you wish, and all will be accommodating to your decision.
Thank you.
Yes, you're very welcome.
There's one more question that I want to, or a thought I'd love for you to share with us. If it's one thing in this Earth experience that we are having right now, what is that one thing you would just really love for humans to know about? Just share with them from your heart.
Yes, there are great amounts of semantics, as the host would call this, that we may go through, but only one thing is necessary. It is the idea of loving oneself. This being the most paramount experience that one can have to inhibit growth, not only within their own existence, but manifesting outwardly all growth to all that they encompass, to all that they encounter. The concept of self-love is the truth of knowing that you, as a person, you, as an individual entity, you, as a entity that is part of all that is, but also a non-physical soul in a physical body, are worth loving in every way, without judgment, that when you are able to do this, that you will be able to express your own consciousness in the most exciting and least resistant fashion. This is the most greatest lesson that we wish to pass on to humanity, with the understanding that they build their entire existence.
That's amazing, because that seems to be the biggest lesson for me that I have been learning. And there's at least for me, one thing I picked up in a belief system is you get this idea from as a small child that love has to be earned, that you have to follow certain ways or beliefs in the community. And of course, I was not very good at that, and would beat myself up about it. But it's just really fun, because now we don't have to give permission or power over to others. It's not something we have to earn. And once we start showing ourselves that unconditional love, and I learned even just to commit to that love, for oneself. I used to carry the belief that I would meet a very dear soulmate, which, as we know, is Rob. And I thought, okay, it has to be perfect, but it's not. It's just the commitment, just the very birth of the idea of that love, and really knowing the truth. Even when I or Rob begin to beat on ourselves about showing ourselves lack of self-love, we know deep down that is not the case. And then we manifested each other into our realities, pulled into that reality, and when we forget, we remind each other as a reflection, and it continues on through not just us, but other beings. And I suspect there'll be a ripple effect of love on the planet. All of us, once we just make that commitment to love ourselves, and then we're reflecting that, it's a very healing experience. And we're able to shift into the realities that we truly want and co-create with each other and support each other in that.
This is very true, and this is as simple as it can be if you decide to have a simple existence.
Can you define what you mean by a simple existence?
Yes, many humans believe that they have a difficult existence because they are consistently busy with many ideas, because they choose to embark upon things that cause waves, if you will, or perhaps the better way to place this is that there are always obstacles being laid in front of them. This is what they believe to be a very non-simple existence. If you choose to remove the pathways and resistance in front of you, you may do this. It is a belief in living in your highest excitements that will bring you this. But let us express to you that in this way of living without obstacles or without new things to connect your energy to, it will become very stale in a very quick manner, and all adversities do not have to come in the way of difficulty. They may come to you in the way of excitement.
Like challenges.
Yes, this is a greater term to use.
Yeah. Well, you brought up an interesting thing, too. This is something I used to wonder about, especially when I was younger, and it was brought to my attention on Facebook the other day. And we have an international audience, as you know. And you had brought up earlier about the continent of Africa and how some of the countries there have those hardships that they face. And of course, as we know, souls choose to have these certain experiences. But in a certain belief system, it might feel much more difficult if you have, say, live in any countries where there appears to be governmental oppression or violence. How would one be able to shift into a reality? Because it seems like that would be a very heavy energy to work through and shift into a belief system where there would be such a dramatic change.
Yes, as simple as this can sound, many entities do not believe that they are capable of this. All it must take is for you to believe that the only existence that you may have is not within a spectrum that encompasses that energy. So what is being expressed if you are living in an area in which police states are rampant, in which you are being held in control? All you must do is find an unfettered belief that expresses my life will be either in the spectrum of greatness or more greatness. And once you truly believe this, then you can experience it. Even if it is by the way of being exiled from your country to live in another, or whether it is from a stranger handing you 1 million of the US dollars that you carry. All of these ways can be expressed and are expressed to those who have the true benefit of believing in themselves and trusting oneself.
Yeah, that is the most amazing. Another one I'm really working on, trusting in oneself, which is really goes hand in hand with loving oneself.
Yes, it is very similar to this idea. In fact, it is the exact same thing with a different definition and a separate perception.
One idea, then, there in a sense, you will say we could share. belief systems that you have worked with for thousands of years, in a sense, are operated in a rather inflexible conscious matrix, crystallized in that sense. And therein, belief systems are held very tightly. It is as though if you were to go to the cinema to see a movie, there is only one or two movies being played, and you only have one or two choices in that sense. But because the actual nature of your existence is infinite, in a sense, there are an infinite number of movies actually being played. And in this timing of Earth awakening, it is as though you are going to the cinema, in that sense, waking up and having your daily experience, the daily movie as it unfolds for you, and as though there are more and more movies available at the cinema for you to choose to go and view, to take part in, to step into, to interact in with those circumstances and situations. And it is occurring at a more rapid rate. The number of options are becoming available at ever-increasing rates. Yes, at speeds and in a number of them that are becoming available. And that therein is a sense what you are experiencing. Perhaps you can relate to what I'm saying. Having many different opportunities, realities in your awareness, presenting them to you. Therein you can decide which ones you want to take part in that sense. So it is for you, it can be helpful to become more centered and realize it is as if all of these choices and opportunities are being presented to you very quickly. You don't have to feel like you have to be drawn into any one in particular. You can relax and sit back and just decide which ones do you really want from your heart, feel to drawn to want to take action and move forward more into interacting with in that sense. So when one comes up that you might say is perhaps you'd say negative, just you can acknowledge it as simply something you don't prefer in that idea and move on to the next opportunity that you feel very joyous about and focus in that direction in that way. More and more you will spend more time in movies and experiences that unfold more in that, you could say, vibrational resonance within consciousness. For what you put out is what you get back in that sense. As the earth is expanding, as you are becoming more enlightened beings and your vibrations are raising, in a sense, there is then the idea I spoke of as the crystal, very heavy belief systems is in that sense changing. It's becoming more malleable, more flexible, and there is that way reason for more access to more movies at once, more opportunities coming to your awareness at once. So choose the ones that are of greatest joy for you. Focus in those directions. Step with your heart in that sense. And the more you do that, the less you're following your heart, and the more you're at one within your heart, dancing with your heart, and step to step resonance with your heart.
What is the earth experience? For what reason did we come here? What made us decide to explore a linear timeline? What made us desire to look at one particular strand, one particular moment? What made us decide to look at it so closely? In this moment, there are so many aspects of ourselves, so many aspects in different timelines. But from our earth perspective, we can't see them. And if we can see, we see little flashes here and there. But we often can't hold it for very long. What is it about the earth experience that is so unique and special? We're always hearing about how special it is to be here. Every place that we are
is equally special. But there's something about this experience, this whole idea of being limited. And within that limitation comes the ultimate creation. This experience births universes. You find out what you truly want when you're here, who you wish to be, where you wish to go, because you are held so tightly into yourself. The moment you realize your true greatness, who you really are, while you are in this limitation, when you realize you are an unlimited being having a limited experience, you laugh, it snaps you out of that, and you begin to have unlimited experiences in what was once perceived a limited environment. All the magic that you wished and desired becomes true, and you get to experience every drop of it. You get to shift into the realities that you wish to experience. So what is it that you want to experience on Earth? I'd like to thank all of the listeners who are listening to the very first show of the Earth Experience. Intro music, Immense, was provided by Robin Strand, and the voiceover was yours truly. Robin Strand's music can be found on soundcloud.com/Robin Strand official. The additional songs can be found on Creative Lab on YouTube. The following songs and artists in order include Switch It Up by Silent Partner, Magic by Jingle Punks, Satin Sugar by Huma Huma, Meditation by Silent Partner, Take You Home by Silent Partner, Pluto by Topher Moore and Alex Alina, Never Sleep by Gunnar Olsen. The Earth Experience is part of the Enlightenment Evolution Network, and we have an amazing array of hosts and new hosts upcoming with their new shows. We even have a network 2 in the works. The Enlightenment Evolution Network. This is a network for all things metaphysical. Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Channeler, sound healer, and Reiki master Daniel Scranton hosts Heart to Heart Talk Radio, which includes featured guests and topics such as the shift, ETs, global events, channeling, energy work, toning, sound healing, manifestation, and all things metaphysical. Special event announcement Saturday, July 19th at 12 noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's tomorrow. Daniel will be teaching channeling to a group of students who will meet via phone and internet. Go to danielscranton.com
www.thearthexperience.com and click on the Learn to Channel menu tab for more information. Tuesday, Soulfulpreneur at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join spiritual business specialists, psychic readers, and business coaches Rachel Archelaus and Megan Crandallmeyer as they inspire you with special guests living their life purpose. And also, they include psychic mediums, channelers, coaches, artists, and authors. They end every show with psychic readings and business coaching for callers. Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, my very favorite, Rob Gauthier, who is also the creator of the Enlightenment Evolution Network and the official channeler of the benevolent reptilian hybrid Treb. Join Rob as he hosts a show that started it all, the Enlightenment Evolution Hour, which now expands well past an hour. Every first Wednesday, call in while Rob channels to ask Treb a question. Third Wednesdays feature special guests such as channelers and other metaphysical teachers. The other 2 weeks are freestyle call-ins to share information and love with whoever wishes to co-create the evening. Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join teacher and speaker Philip for Philip Malika's Consciousness Evolution Hour, a wide range of metaphysical topics from the perspective of the fifth dimension, the shift, fifth dimensional living, relationships, channelers, channelings, non-physical and off-world energies, and more, including special guests and co-hosts. Friday, the Earth Experience. Me. Join me every week and fall in love with your human experience as a new 5D being. The Earth Experience explores our soul's expansion through our human experiences on Earth. You never know what to expect on this show. Any style can go. Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Odyssey of Ascension. Join channeler Roxanne Swainhart for 2 hours of mind-bending Ascension downloads. Be open, be ready, and just be with her while we answer your questions about past lives, extraterrestrial, soul purpose, energy, activation, and all things ascension. Come join us for an unforgettable journey into the unknown. Sunday, 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, starting July 20th. That's just right around the corner, guys, this Sunday. Join author, lecturer, integrated channeler Karen Newman's new show called About Oneness, a weekly radio program focused on celebrating the ongoing conscious awakening of our planet and our realization of oneness. Special guests, discussions, channel readings will be some of the topics explored. Coming soon on the Enlightenment Evolution Network 2. That's right, you heard it. We have a second network. Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Victoria Vives hosts the Earth Sky People Radio, living in harmony with Mother Earth and awakening to an intergalactic society, bringing to you greater awareness regarding starseeds and extraterrestrial life, living in harmony with one another, with Mother Earth, and with life beyond Earth, the Interstellar Alliance or Planet Earth becoming part of an intergalactic society, the transformative power of music, frequency, and sound, shamanism, ancestral wisdom, and the Star Nations, self-sustainable and regenerative living, and much more. And don't worry, guys, sometimes I will be having guests and callers. Like I said, anything goes. I love you, and have a beautiful night.